Hi, I'm Brian Zane. Welcome to The Actor's Nervous System, a podcast about acting, embodiment, psychology, and the nervous system. Today I'm talking with Andrew Bosworth, an actor and teacher here in Chicago and the curator of Demidov Chicago. Andrew is actually one of the people who first introduced me to the Demidov technique back in 2020, so there's a little personal history behind this conversation. And he's also someone who has gone from studying the work to using it professionally to now teaching it himself. Andrew, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. First, I wanted to just ask about how you got into acting in the first place.
It was accidental, honestly. You know, when you're in middle school and they're like, you pick an elective, and like, sure, it's sort of theater. That sounds interesting. I've never done that before. So yeah, I just took that class, and our teacher was the kind of guy that just had fun with it. He wasn't trying to
Yep.
make us into anything. He was just enjoying himself, and so he made it fun. So it was a fun little distraction from being a particularly studious child. So I kind of, did it here and there, and I had my high school theatrical education, nothing really
Yep.
to shout about, but we were part of the core of the high school theater group that actually wanted to do this,
Yep.
and also wasn't choosing it just as an elective. It was really when I got to undergrad where I thought to myself, like, okay, this could be a real thing.
What was like a highlight production in undergrad?
Well, see, here's the thing about that. In undergrad, in my college, there was the BA track and the BFA track. You had to audition for the BFA track. I auditioned for that and I did not get into that. But the BFAs got all the roles. They got all the extra classes. They were the special kids. Us
Gotcha.
BAs were just everyone else.
Yep.
So wasn't able to really do anything in undergrad, unfortunately, which turned out to be formative for me. I got to have an ensemble part in Urinetown, which was a ton of fun. It was a great
Nice.
musical, and the production itself
Yep.
was super solid. And there was also an adaptation of the Revenger's Tragedy, right? Set in a relatively
Wait,
modern slash post.
what's the Revengers tragedy? I don't know.
Is it Middleton? Is it Thomas Middleton? It's classical theater that's just
Oh,
that other
classical theater.
classical that's not Shakespeare.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, so that's
Yep.
why, yeah, most people have not heard about it. They made a movie of it, I think, a few decades back. But yeah, it's like hyper violent, sort of like a Jacobean revenge tragedy, set
Gotcha.
into a modern age. I got an ensemble part in that and got to be shot. It was great. But undergrad was not much of anything, and I was just kind of doing my thing, trying to get what I can out of it, but I wasn't able to actually engage with the real, actual education that was happening because that was all for the BFA kids. And so I ended up, sort of coasting on instinct, honestly, because
Mhm.
what else was I supposed to do?
Mhm.
Work with the community theater for the first time in my life because when I was young, I didn't have that. So that's what really got me going there. That's through undergrad, of course. After undergrad, that's a completely different story.
Yeah. What college did you go to?
The University of North Carolina at Greensboro.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Little old
Yeah, I
place.
did. Yeah, I did a BA program in undergrad too, but there were no BFAs, so
Ah,
I could do a lot of stuff,
they cared
but yeah,
about
I
your
did.
talent.
Yeah, yeah, but I didn't really get like I took one acting class, and then I took stagecraft and directing and playwriting and all this other
Like you
stuff.
do. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then I would like to hear about how you first thought about getting into grad school and what your goals were, and then how Demidov first entered your life.
Yeah. So getting out of undergrad, I had my degree in theater, like you do, and so I went off to do what I could. I bounced around the theater circuit in Iowa and Wisconsin and around. There's some internships here and there. Kind of lived out of a suitcase for 3 years, doing just little things here and there. Just trying to see what I could do, see what I could get out there. There was about 7 years, I think, that I spent, doing my own thing. And again, not having any particular goal or anything. I didn't have my eyes set on New York, not Chicago or anything. I did just out of undergrad, so I didn't really have a specific goal in mind. So I just wanted to do my thing. Um, and I had my now wife that was around, and so I went with her. Her parents lived in Dallas, Texas, a suburb of Dallas, Texas, and so we would occasionally be there. She had her job. She got a thing in Milwaukee Rep at one point. She worked at Spring Green at APT, so she was around a little bit. It was really it was really when she got into grad school in Austin, Texas, where we actually stopped for a minute there. We were relatively itinerant, the both of us, until then. That was the first time we actually stopped for any length of time while she was in grad school for those 3 years. And I was working in Austin just like I did, just, at the little theaters around doing my thing, just having fun, trying to, see what I could do in Austin, Texas. Once she finished grad school, then it was my turn. So I went to,
Is she an actor too?
she's costume tech.
Costume.
She's the head draper.
Oh, okay. So she went to grad school for costume design. Gotcha.
Yeah. Costume tech specifically. Yeah.
Costume tech. Okay.
Yeah. She's not a huge designer, but she is very, very good at putting it all together.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So she got finished, and then it was my turn. Yeah. No plans, no specific goals. I went to URTA, like you do. Did the cattle call, right? Got some callbacks for various and sundry grad programs, one of which was the FSU Oslo Conservatory for Actor Training in Sarasota, Florida. And I got to spend a little time with Andre Malaev-Babel. Had no idea who this person was. Had no idea what was going on. It's just, he was just another one of these guys that wanted to work with me on my piece. Cool. All right, sure. And we did a little exercise, and it was fun. Had no idea what was going on, but they saw fit to bring me into the program. Still no clue what I was getting into at this point. As I'm sure is a common story. Many people don't.
Yeah.
Before they get there. You were fortunate. You actually had.
I did.
Had a hint.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
So yeah, we got down to Sarasota, Florida. We got into a classroom with Andre, and he started messing with us. He started doing some stuff that I'd never heard of before. And of course, we work with him, 4 or 5 days a week, 3 hours a day, just doing his thing. And it took the better part of a semester to start to realize that he was doing something weird. He was experimenting on us, and then talking with the upperclassmen and my own classmates about the experience to realize that he was actually building something. He was making something new. And so it took the course of the first semester to realize that this is actually special what we're doing here. Coming to find that no one else is doing this, like it's just him. So we are having the opportunity to actually not only try something new but build something new right there in grad school with on our feet, which is intensely exciting.
Do you know how long Andre had been doing it at that point? Or
it was at that point, it was something like, it was over a decade, some going on 15 years, I think is at this point, he's now on the 20-year point. It was something, something like decade, 15 years or so.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And then we started to see what he was going for there. And I can only speak for myself, but I clicked in to that. I'm like, yes, I am down for this new thing. Please let me try this, and please let me experiment with this. Of course, after your first year at the Oslo, you kind of go, Andre lets you go to a large degree. So it's up to you at that point whether you stick with it or you kind of continue to your own journey. I tried to stick with it as much as I could, and I have not looked back since then. I have not looked back for 1 second.
And what do you think clicked for you when you first started working with Demidov?
And I touched on this because before I got to grad school, I say I had no ulterior motive, but one thing that I wanted to get out of grad school was basically to correct the mistakes of the past. Like, my undergrad was not much. I didn't get anything out of it. I didn't really have training. So I wanted to fix that. And so I had been sort of just doing what I felt worked. I didn't have a method. Like, again, what I was taught in undergrad didn't have any particular pedagogy to it. I was just like, again, does it feel good? Does it feel right? Are people pleased with what I'm doing? Okay, sure. Right. So it was instinctual, and that was working, generally speaking. So I get to the Oslo and start working in the Demidov technique, and come to find there's a ton of instinct involved in the process. Again, it's trusting what's actually happening to you. And so I'm like, well, that's kind of how I've been working, but I didn't have a framework for it. I didn't have a name for these things. And so that's why I kind of like, okay, I can jive with this, because it did speak to where I was coming from already. And also the fact that it was thinking about the theater from a different point of view. You get any sort of acting training, even a cursory one, and you start to see behind the curtain and start to perhaps see things you don't like about the industry or about the craft or something, or something that just sticks in your craw, right? And Demidov, in his own way, went for the complete opposite direction to look at what theater could and should be. And Andre is very honest about what he saw in the theater as where it was going, how it was growing, and Johnny too, in the second year with our Shakespeare teacher Johnny, realizing that the theater's in a tough spot. I mean, like people don't want to go. It's not top three recreational activities for contemporary Americans, so
No.
it's tough.
Yeah.
So what can we do to not let the theater die? Just because it hasn't died over the past several centuries doesn't mean it can't, right? I believe in us to wreck something good. That is something as Americans we're great at. So yeah, how can we contribute to the revitalization of an art form which has plenty to appreciate? It's just people have forgotten it, or they've found something flashier. And Demidov actually gives you something actually to hold on to and show a person and be like, this is special and this is exciting, right? And that also, it gave me a sense of mission, I suppose, that a person can approach the Demidov approach through, particularly from an acting lens. But once you get that under your belt and you start to appreciate again what you and a group of people can actually make, that's when it really becomes something animating, I think.
If you would compare, I mean, you touched on this a little bit and said like you went by instinct before you started Demidov. But did you take any acting classes in undergrad, and what did they teach you? And like, how would you compare the actor you were before that training with Andre to the actor you were after?
And this is like I regret that before I got to undergrad, I never took any acting class, like, aside from high school. Like I never went out and found anything in the communities, professionals. I never knew. I never realized that I could even try that. So getting to undergrad again, I had no basis of comparison. So I think I actually forget. I took an honors acting class. I don't even
Oh,
know what it pertains. There were several of us in there in the honors version, the honors section of the class,
in
um,
high school?
in undergrad.
Oh, in undergrad, yeah.
And we got the like the bare bones, really. Like we did like book one Stanislavski, we had the Boleslavsky book, and that might have been it. Quite frankly, that might have been it. We practiced, we did some mask work, some weird stuff, some movement stuff. I think we made it did like this much viewpoints. Like again, we were not who they were pouring their investment into, and so we were really
Right.
just getting the skeleton. And again, the actor that I was then, again, just like okay, I'll try this. Let's see what happens. Let's see, does it work? I'm not understanding again how my brain is working. I'm not understanding how my brain and body are interacting. Not on that deep level. It's all surface level. It's all product
Yep.
based,
Yep.
which makes sense. Again, at that undergrad level, you're not ready to load these young people up with too much, but it really is just product focused. And I will never forget. It was the first acting course that I took in undergrad. We were doing monologue work, um, and we've been working on it for weeks, like you do. Then we finally got up to our final like presentation of a monologue. Everybody got up. They would do their thing. Uh, Instructor would have comments. Open up the comments to the class. Cool, thank you. Next person. So we were going through that, and I was about halfway through the pack, 3/4 through the pack. I get up there. I do my thing. As I get done, teacher says, okay, class, do you have any thoughts, comments, questions? Silence. Instructor looks at me and she says, well, I got nothing. Go ahead, sit down. I was the only person. No one said anything. Nothing.
Wow.
No critique, no commentary, not even from the teacher. She's like, I got nothing. Good job. Like, what? Huh? What do I do with that? What do I do with that?
Yeah.
What is this working? Is it already working for me? Have I learned everything? I was left with that being like, I guess I'm fine. And I think that's where I really took with me, like something's missing here. Like I'm sure this is fine, but something's missing.
Yeah.
Um, and so
They
again,
weren't they
like
weren't
I
able
like
to like challenge you to challenge.
yeah, and
Yeah.
yeah, and I didn't have any like where do I take myself? Like I didn't have a sense of what I wanted from me because it seemed to be again I was being told this was fine. For I'm sure you've been there. Many actors have been there. If you do a run of a show, like in tech or something, and then people are getting a bunch of notes and you don't get
Yeah.
any, and you
Yeah.
kind of try to tell yourself I guess what I'm doing is good, or
Yeah.
right? You kind of try to tell yourself that. But again, it doesn't give you anything to stand on or to
Yeah,
work
because you
from.
usually don't get positive notes. So
Yeah, most of the time.
yeah,
Yeah. But again, you have to just convince yourself, like, I guess I'm doing good. But as an
right.
actor, actor brain, like, but is that the truth? I'm not sure, right?
Yeah, yeah,
um, which Demidov helps with as well. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, so again, it was just this thing of like, if it felt good to me, that must be fine. But I knew that there was something else. There was something else that everyone else seemed to be grabbing onto, but I didn't have that. So yeah, that's what I walked into grad school being like, I know what I can do, but what could I do?
And then, like after grad school, what did it feel like to start, taking this work out as a professional actor, and like figuring out everything you learned in grad school, and like what kind of artist am I? How am I gonna actually do that? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think if I remember correctly, one of your previous episodes, you in between your years, you did like Noises Off somewhere.
Yeah, I did noises off after the
after
first year.
after first year, right? So it's at
Yeah,
that point, if you're into this sort of thing, where you go away for the summer,
yeah,
you do a thing with people who have no clue what you're doing, right?
yes,
And you're in there and be like, great, how can I use this? How much of this can I use? So it was those couple of years before graduation where you first start to be able to be like, okay, let's try a little bit of this.
yeah.
Um, I was able to do the 39 steps in
Oh,
Missouri,
so
right?
another
Yeah,
farce.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah,
That's summer stock for you.
yeah,
But so I got there and I'm like, all right, okay, all right. And I was playing one of the clowns, right? So a
yeah,
lot of latitude, right?
yeah.
So I get up there and I start playing. I start following my impulses, like with the guy playing Richard Hannay. I remember very vividly one of the first scenes where he first comes out of his apartment. So he's talking to the milkman or something like that. I was playing the milkman, and we were just messing around. It was the first couple of rehearsals we were messing around, and I was again I kept playing with him. I kept trying something new, and I could see in his eyes being like, you're doing something different than you did last time, right? But I could see that he was finding it fun, even though he didn't
Got it.
understand what was
Yeah,
happening. But I just kept playing with him, kept throwing him back the ball, sort of thing, and he was catching it. And I'm like, I see people understand this on a fundamental level, even if they don't realize. So as those first couple of years, before you graduate, we start to experiment in how much the uninitiated can grasp of what you're doing, which was a lot of fun to start to see how this could work in a practical scenario, and it totally does. Again, it encourages the other people to have as much fun as you're having,
yeah.
God willing. Um,
And
but it was
it could be infectious too.
exactly
Like,
right. Again,
yeah,
I could see in his eyes there was a little bit of terror, but also knowing that everything was fine. Again, the scene was going right, but so he was. I often refer to it as like seeing how well people can keep up with you, right?
mm,
And most actors, again, they have this intuitive sense that they can, and they try, right? If only they knew if they could harness this. If only they knew.
yeah,
So yeah, that was before graduation. Afterward, that's again when you're trying to be a proper professional. At that point, you've got your MFA, right? And you just got to go out there, and now you're making a name for yourself. I spent a small amount of time still in Sarasota. My wife was working at the Oslo. I did a show at the Oslo in their summer program. But then my wife got a gig in Chicago, and so it was like, all right, here we go. We're going to Chicago, right? That's the place. That's the place for me, I suppose. I'd always thought about it. Never really, again, I had any plans, but we ended up here in one of the best theater cities in the world. She's working at the Goodman, and I was doing my thing here. Of course, we got to Chicago in October of 2019.
uh,
So there is a bit of a hiccup in this story. um,
oh, yeah,
I
I didn't realize you had just moved.
yeah, yeah,
Or I met
just
you.
and
Okay.
then everything stopped. Yes, yeah. Brian and
Yeah,
I worked at a workshop right in the cusp of 2019, 2020, right?
yeah.
Um, and then everything stopped, and I didn't do a thing until late 21, I think. So it was a good 2 years. It was just empty of anything. I had auditioned before it all stopped. I had a real proper role, I had an understudy thing. It seemed to be going good, uh, but then everything stopped. But yeah, it was I believe late 2021 where I actually started trying to work in earnest. And it's really great again to again, not every show has their own demands. And every show gives you the same amount of freedom. Not every director is going to give you the same amount of freedom. I had the great good fortune of working on a Greek show that had, it's a textual structure, but other than that, we were able to play a little bit, which was nice. And then the show right after that was a relatively realistic piece with a lot of personal interaction between the character playing my mother, the character playing my colleague, best friend, sort of thing. And that was really, it was the first opportunity I had to do a proper, like, big old show with people with real human interactions, right? And he got to actually kind of breathe the technique out in that show. It's called Man of the People. Nobody came and saw it, but it was a good show. It was underappreciated, unfortunately. So yeah, and I had the fortune relatively soon after starting again to have that experience to actually work with it with proper material. And it's just a great reminder that this can work even with people who don't know what's going on. If you're there with them, they're going to respond to you. And so that has kept me going ever since then. Finding the space in every production where you can follow your impulses and can actually live on stage. It's a game in itself, and it's fun in itself.
It is, yeah. That's great. Yeah, that was a cool term when you said breathing the technique out.
Yeah, because
I
of
just
course,
want to
if
hear.
you and I always put it in my bio when people ask me about it, sort of thing. But I never want to put the hard sell on anyone about, like, hey, this thing I'm doing, right? So just kind of like putting it into the room, right? Nice and easy. Again, Demidov isn't about forcing you to do anything. Demidov isn't about making you believe any particular way. It's about exploration of self. Demidov is putting it out there. Andre would put it out there for us, and it's for us to pick up and get out of it what we can. It's not about being forced in a particular direction. And so yeah, whenever possible, if I can just be in a room kind of doing this thing and then seeing who's picking up on that, putting this in the air, the possibility that theater can be something different. Theater can be something more exciting, and that your faculties can be used to a much greater degree. Your inner self and your cognitive abilities can be used in a much more expansive way. Just throwing that out there, and then afterwards seeing who might bite and seeing who might come work with us and actually see a little more about it.
And then you became a teacher of Demidov, and what was that like, and what changed with your relationship to the technique? Acting it is one thing, and then teaching it is another.
It's very much a different thing. When we were in grad school, this may have been different when you were there, but Mondays were dark, but that was optional etudes day. And
Right.
so Andre's graduate assistant would sort of lead those. He would come occasionally, but his graduate assistant would lead those optional etude days. So that would be the time for us, just get in there and keep playing. All 3 years, all three classes get together and actually mix and play together.
Oh wow.
My year was not very well attended,
Yeah.
not very well at all. So we were, again, left to our devices quite a bit. And we got weird a little bit in a good way. There's some legendary etudes that we did. One that I talk about to this day that my classmate Dustin wrote that took I exaggerate not one bit. It took a full 25 minutes to assign the lines because everybody kept laughing. We kept falling out of our chairs. Dustin had to leave the room because he was cracking up. So the actors could just get these lines in their head because it was so non sequitur. And it had such levity to it. It made absolutely no sense, but it was a great etude. So yeah, we were playing with it. We were having fun, right? And that's kind of the point, is like keep messing with it, keep playing, we keep having fun. When we got to the pandemic, that is when Andre decided, you know what, this is the best opportunity I've ever had to actually get some people for a long period of time and teach them how to teach this thing. So over the course of the pandemic, I took the opportunity with Andre Malaev-Babel to have the teacher certification program. Then we worked with a couple different groups of actors from around the world. We had a group of 5 actors, mostly from the UK, a couple from America, and we had a group of 8, 10, I can't remember at this point, of international actors that we worked with for a couple of years,
Mm-hmm.
while us teachers were learning to teach the thing. Yeah, just taking that opportunity. I had nothing better to do, right? And I was about this thing. It was being an ambassador in my own small way, but I was happy to be an actual proper ambassador for this thing because I do believe in it. Again, I have not looked back since. So it was working with these international actors online and working with Andre on a regular basis, kind of rotating through teaching these people and observing, teaching. And it's coming to find, of course, that knowing how to act is one thing, knowing how to do the technique is one thing, but to actually be the one who's facilitating it, completely different. Teaching, very different thing than actually doing. So it's worth remembering. So coming to find the level of discipline that the teacher of Demidov needs to have, because you've come from doing etudes, you come from having fun, you come from letting your impulses out and just throwing things against the wall and seeing what sticks. But then you have to reel it back in as the facilitator
Yeah.
so that your actors can have a nice neutral canvas to spring off from and do their crazy wild stuff. But you yourself have to really kind of sit back and just let them be brilliant. And that's what I always say in all my classes. Like I'm here, and my privilege is to watch you be awesome, right? I don't get to do the etudes, but I can write them and I can see magic happen, right? So I have to just again make make the space available for them to do that. And then every once in a while, maybe throw in a little fun here and there. But one of the big things that Andre talks about is to respect the technique as it is, not to try and modify it, not to try and change it, put my own spin on it, because if it works, you don't need to do that. And so there's that discipline comes in, being like, this is enough. What we have here is enough. I give it to you so that you can go, but it's taking the ego out of the equation was a big thing and an ongoing thing. Because I feel such passion for this, and the actors that I see doing great work, I really wanna get in there with it. But I got to again let them take their time and do their thing. But yeah, taking the ego out of the equation is a huge part of what the teacher certification program fostered in us, and at the end of the day, is a big part of what makes Demidov unique.
Two things I wanted to push in on were the writing etudes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just for the audience, like these I've talked about before, these acting etudes where they're written on the spot for two partners, and we don't know what they're about, who the characters are, or anything, and then the actors repeat them neutrally, and then when they empty and throw the words away, something happens and a scene and circumstances happen. And Andre talked to my class a little bit about writing etudes, but I just wanted to hear from you about that process during teacher certification of what you're encouraged to do when you're writing etudes.
And it's funny. It's almost as simple as little as possible.
Right.
Um, because again, we're storytellers. We have amazing imaginations, right? Um, Again, when you're doing an etude and you empty and things come to you, it's just there's so much life there. But what our job as a facilitator is to give the blank canvas for them to do the life, for their spirit, their heart, their intellect to splash on to, not to overwhelm what they're about to do with us. So keeping it as relatively mundane as possible, relatively open ended as possible. Before I took the teacher certification course, what I personally would like to do is, I understood that the open ended nature is a big part of it, but I always like to throw on what I would call a wild card, like one line, like maybe three quarters through, that kind of like put it off in one direction. Just give the actors something to bounce off of,
Right.
right? And that's fun. That could be fun. But of course, but he kept reminding us, be like, just like keep it as neutral as possible, to let the actor's imagination, let the actor's heart and spirit fill in the gaps completely themselves, because they have that power. And we're trying to make them understand that they do have that power, to own that power, to have faith in that power. So again, taking myself out of the equation, being like, all right, okay, I'll save my fun ones for my classmates. um, yeah, keeping it as neutral as possible and as open ended as possible. That was and it's hard, again, because you write hundreds of them. And you start to say to yourself, "I'm sure I've written this one before. Can I
Yeah.
jazz this one up?" No, it's fine. It may be similar to what I did before, but again, it's the actor's job to take it away, right? So it's not, again, I'm my own critic and my own ego being like, am I writing well enough? Let it go, dude. It's all right.
Are you trying to pick up on certain uh, energies from actor? Because the facilitator is always kind of looking at the two actors before they write the etude, and sometimes with Andre, it seemed like he was like really looking into our souls, and he would write these things that were like, well, how did he know that about
Mhm.
me? Or yeah.
And there. I mean, there are a couple of ways of doing about it. Just like what comes out of you right now, or look at my two actors, and am I getting anything from them? Is something telling me about what they want to talk about today?
Yeah.
Maybe their side conversations earlier in the class gave me some idea, something that they're thinking about, or something that they came from, or whatever. I may pull from them, certainly.
So you have to spy on your students.
I mean, listen, they're there. All right,
Yeah.
they're my material.
Yeah.
That's all I got. But there's also an element of course, when you've been working with people for a decent amount of time, our acting certification students, we were with them for 2 years. We start to get to know them pretty well, their habits and their sort of like tendencies, right? And so you can work to counter it a little bit, throw them material that will challenge them and push them into a certain
Right.
direction. But this comes from knowing them, and you have to have a light touch also, because you can't make it too clear that that's what you're doing. I remember I did one etude. I wrote one etude for someone who was she was a little polite. She was from the UK. She was polite. She was even-handed for the most time. And so her stage direction was I come in and I shout. Right? I just wanted her to start the etude with that, right? And see what that did for her. Again, like some sort of shout of some kind. I think it did pretty well for her. But again, I couldn't tell her what kind of shout. I couldn't like build that into something real. I just had to give her something, and hopefully she bit onto that thing. Well, it helped that I put it at the very beginning of the etude, so she could not escape it in any way, shape, or form. But yeah, there is again the intuitiveness of just looking at my people and then seeing what comes to me, and also maybe ask myself, should I give this person something that they need? Again, in as neutral and as unstructured way as possible, but just that little nudge, just a little nudge.
The other thing I wanted to touch on was the kind of attention to detail that a teacher of Demidov's seems to need. Like, how does that develop, and like what are you looking for when you're watching? Because it seems like you have to be watching each individual actor and what their journey is simultaneously. Like,
Yeah, that's a very tough thing. It really is.
yeah,
You think it's tough enough as an actor doing them, to be fully aware of my partner and allowing what's happening to myself, and then getting out of my own way and letting myself express. So now I'm watching two different people, trying to catch as much as I can. And also, because what they're doing is so honest, I'm getting caught up in it a little bit, right?
hmm,
I'm interested in the story. And it's kind of a trap, because if I get too interested in the story, I might miss something by enjoying it so much. So
mm.
it's a blessing and a curse that they do such good work, because then I'll just be like, oh right, you were having a great moment here. You were probably doing something. Uh, um, so yeah, it is very difficult to make sure that I'm keeping my objective distance from the work that's being done, but also I have to be appreciating it, because the positive feedback is such an important thing, that an actor needs. Any actor needs some sort of positive reinforcement in a classroom situation that is sometimes infrequent. Um, so yeah, it is a balancing act to try and again catch both of what they're doing, because I only have two eyes. I do rely sometimes. Sometimes Andre will throw it out to the class. Class, did you see anything? He may have been trying to be like, did you see anything that I didn't, because I was watching this guy completely missing an impulse, right? It happens. It's going to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
but also there's that factor of honesty in the actor, because at the end of the day, it's about listening to yourself and then acknowledging yourself, and only you can say at the end of the day what was going on with you. And so at the end of the day, you tell me what happened, right? It's not necessarily for me to say, I saw these things. I'm just trying to encourage you to greater honesty for myself. And if I could catch one little thing that might remind you what honesty might be like, maybe if it's for your partner, maybe I was watching them a little more than you, but that's what honesty is like. And so it's a process of encouragement towards honesty from many different angles, I suppose you could say.
mhm. The next question I wanted to ask, I mean, we've touched on this, a lot of this already, but just like getting to the heart of like what is Demidov actually asking the actor to do, and maybe what is he asking the actor not to do as well.
Yeah, and I like this idea you asked me about. Ultimately, what is this skill being trained here? What's the actor coming out of this with? Um, and we start the class. It's kind of the refrain is that we're not here to teach you anything. We're here to help you get out of your own way, because the human brain has so much complexity. It has these armatures and these structures built up all around it, all around your personality, right? That keep you from actually following what's actually happening. And so we're asking the actor to clear all that away, right? These things that are make you who you are out in the world, right? But then again, when you're an actor, you're not necessarily you. So we got to clear these things out of the way to find what else is there. And we're asking the actor to just to do a profound exercise in trust, right? In trusting what's actually happening to you, the feelings that you have, and trusting the thing that's coming from your partner, right? And it takes a huge amount of bravery to do that, because you are letting go of all these things that you know help. You absolutely know help. You'll go out and back into the world, and they will help every single day, over and over and over again. And here, creating a piece of art, you're saying, I don't need any of those things. What, right? Um, it's because my body is like trained to trust that. Now we're asking you to trust a completely different part of yourself, a deeper part of yourself, and not only trust it, but let it go and just let it happen. It's dangerous, it's risky, it's wild. I always liken it to throwing yourself off a cliff, and you have to get to the point where that sort of adrenaline and fear, right, doesn't hold you back from actually doing that. You throw yourself off that cliff, and your scene partner catches you, God willing. And it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. But once you finish that etude, you'll realize that terror was just life. That was just the process of animation pushing you through whatever was happening with your partner. And hopefully the next time it's a little easier to throw yourself off that cliff and take your hands off the wheel and just let this who you are actually come out for the first time in your life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's beautiful. And yeah, I think of just like how radical this technique is. Like compared to, I mean, we can get to, yeah, comparing to other techniques and like what makes it distinct from other techniques. People who don't maybe follow acting, this might sound interesting, but they don't know like how very, very radical this technique is and how very, very different it is from the mainstream techniques.
Yeah, because mainstream acting techniques people recognize, right? They recognize a certain aspect of their humanity. They recognize the thought processes, the conflicts that people go through. Absolutely, these things are all normal, and we create theater to be recognizable. That's what we're good at, right? That's what a good work of theater will do, is to not be so strange and outlandish that people bounce off of it. They'll actually see something of themselves in it. But we stop ourselves. We stop ourselves, much like in life, like with everything that's going on in your brain and your heart with life. In order to get along in society, the price we pay for society is we stop ourselves, right? So that we don't go too far and we don't draw too much attention to ourselves. It makes sense. It makes complete sense. Again, that's the price we pay to have a functioning society. But we carry that too much into our theatrical work as well. But we don't have to. We don't have to there. We're creating some piece, a work of art here with like, and the instrument is people, right? And so to get up there and say that's I'll push past that sort of place where I would normally stop. It's frightening for people. It brings the product into question. If I'm always messing around, what is the product I'm going to put out there? And that's what people think. It's like I'm working towards a project, I'm working towards a show, right? I'm working towards
Right.
one story that I'm telling. But if,
Right,
if
like
I let it
a
go,
final draft, like
exactly, right?
and directors are saying we rehearse, we rehearse, we rehearse. This is the final draft. Okay, just do this every night, and it's like
Right,
how
and bless them, God bless them. People do their best, right? And I always try to make very clear with my students is that the theater you see, these people feeling, these people working with their cognitive faculties and what aspects of their subconscious they can, it's good stuff. It really is good stuff. We don't want to fault anybody for the work that they are doing, the work that we've done for the past 100 years, but there's something missing. It has been sanded down a little bit. It's too smooth, right? There's a part of humanity that's not quite there. That's sort of chaos that a person feels in their inner monologue, right, as they go through the day, right? It's wild, it's interesting, like their unfinished sentences, thoughts, all these things that are happening up here, right, that you keep in yourself, but it's all happening, right? It's that thing, right, that sort of active life that we feel every single day, that is an ongoing process, never stopping at all. we don't have that part of it in the theater. We don't allow it. We don't invite it, right? That's the thing that's once people realize that it's missing, they recognize that part of themselves and they see that it's not in the theater. That's why I always say to my students, once you've been doing this for a while, you go see a show, you can't unsee people not following their impulses, not actually listening to it. You can't unsee it, unfortunately, because again, it's all very good, but right. But it takes a very special kind of actor to have that bravery. It takes a special kind of director to give the actors that latitude, a special kind of director to take their ego out of the equation and back off from the story that they want to tell, right? And to make the theater a place where we can explore humanity, not just tell one monolithic story, but take this text and find the deeper parts of humanity inside of it. And there isn't one answer for that. The theater for the past 100 years have been seeking the one answer for our production. So that's why we come from a completely different angle. There is no one answer, right? And fundamentally, we do understand that as people who are growing, living, coming into conflict with people. We know that, right? As people, we just don't acknowledge that in the theater for some reason. It's really weird.
Yeah, and it's what you're talking about. It's something that's like more dangerous, that more alive. That I don't think theater would have a. We wouldn't even be talking about theater being dead if there was that kind of aliveness. And it makes me think of that section in Becoming an Actor Creator where Demidov talks about the cat that comes onto the stage, and all of a sudden the audience is just looking at the cat. What's the cat going to do? Because the cat is just completely following its own impulse and just being completely itself, and like yawns at the audience and just doesn't care. And the actors are not alive. They're not following their impulse. And so they're just watching this animal. And then he talks about another actor who the same thing happens, and he is alive, he is engaged, he is following his impulses. So as the character, he just picks up the cat, pets it, and all of a sudden the audience isn't paying attention to the cat at all.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be immense or anything. It's just, again, like I'm actually being here. I'm not pretending. I'm not lying anymore. We buy into the lie of what the theater is. This sort of the suspension of disbelief is what we call it. But it is in its own way just a sophisticated lie. Can we lie less? I promise you that we can lie a lot less than we actually do. And it's funny that's sort of the danger that we talk about. So we talk about it a little bit. It's like think about it when you're think about your favorite films or something, blockbuster films. The stories that we love are the stories of, oh, that actor just did that in one take and it was not in the script, and they got into the final cut. We love that. We can't get rid of Robert Downey Jr. He's improvising half of his stuff. And we love that. We love that part, right?
Christopher Guest, Larry David, all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that. Like, again, we connect with that, but we don't want to invite it in more than just a little bit, right? Because again, we're afraid. And it's a talent or talents like those few people. Again, like they pop up here. There's not a culture of this sort of like exploration. There's not a culture of that. But of course, that takes time to build. The Demidov School, the Demidov Association is in relatively early infancy, right? And this is not a quick thing. Demidov never intended it to be a quick thing. So building that kind of art takes time, and we don't expect everyone to come around right away. But when they do, it's going to be terribly exciting.
I wanted to ask a little bit about the Demidov technique and how it can change an actor's relationship to their own nervous system and their relationship to fear and nerves and self-consciousness. He has these things, the culture of calm, which we haven't really talked about yet.
And those are the big revelations that actors get to have when working with the Demidov approach. They're some of the easiest things to catch. So it's always I always try to draw attention to it when it pops up. These defenses that pop up automatically when they're in an emotional moment, right? And their nervous system gets in their way, sure that everything's okay. This is a completely human, completely new, which is why most people don't register it, and even them as actors in the scene don't quite see what's the problem with that. I had to assure them, like, because what you've done is absolutely normal. But what was happening was your brain was starting to take over what was actually happening in the scene and in your life, right? It was starting to direct the ship, right? Not
Mm.
your heart, not your person. It was this complex association of defenses um, and heuristics that navigate you through life when there's too much going on. Um, these automatic things that kind of smooth the road for you in normal life. But we're here to love conflict and to just butt heads. So we don't want to defend ourselves. And so it is a great moment to encourage them, being like, so the next time that that defense pops up, when your brain serves you up that thing, be like, nah, it's okay.
Yeah, and that's I talked about that in my episode when I was doing noises off and I got that lower back pain. That was like so strong of my nervous system saying like, no, it's not safe. It's like, but I just had to
Yeah, it's
do it.
not only mental, but it's also physical because they're
Yeah.
intimately connected.
Yeah.
There's the schools of thought with actors start with the brain, then goes to the body, or start with the body, then goes to the brain. It's all one. You're one unit of a person, right? It's all gonna happen, and it's gonna happen so fast. Trying to divide the two up is kind of a silly thing. Again, understandable, but it's kind of a silly thing if you think about it. Your brain works like lightning, okay? Because we're the dominant species on this planet for a reason, because our brains are fabulous. They are very intelligent, they're very smart, and they do a very good job of protecting us. And so, untraining this whole thing that you developed over decades of life, that's the work, quite frankly. And it can get scary because you are letting go of these things which make life okay.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where you get kind of like backpedaling sort of thing. You get hesitation. It all makes complete sense, but you just got to, again, develop that trust, that faith in yourself and your scene partner to be there for you. That can give you the courage to let go of these things. And the more you throw yourself off that cliff, the more you try to let go of these things, the more your brain's going to try to save you. The stronger you feel, the stronger emotions that come out of you, your nervous system is going to go into red alert even stronger. And so it takes an even greater practice of faith and trust in yourself and trust that everything's going to be okay to continue to walk straight into this dangerous thing that your brain's telling you, please don't know you're going to wreck something, right? It just takes an even more faith and even more faith and even more bravery to continue to walk into that snowstorm, so to speak.
Yeah, the training is asking us to like remove that wall that we have between ourselves and the world, and also like between whatever it is, our soul, our heart, our subconscious, that in modern society we're not listening to as much, we're not being present as much. Demidov's kind of asking us to go back to that and to be okay with it and to share it.
and
Yeah.
and it's a difficult thing because and this is we don't try and hide this, is that the fact as soon as you walk out that door, as soon as the show's over and you go back home, you have to bring those things right back to yourself because like I said, it's the price we pay for society. So you can't trash them completely. You just have to find a way to say, okay, not now, kind of push them to the side to allow yourself to have this artistic moment in this artistic work that you're creating, but not to destroy it completely. And so that does take an expansiveness of your own conscious and subconscious of working together to maybe like take these subconscious processes and push them way back into the deep subconscious, but still allow them back into your life after you're done. And again, it'll play with your brain a little bit. And again, it feels like this is a normal thing, but we're asking for something, Herculean, something heroic from you,
Mhm.
is to let go of those things and be okay, being your normal mundane self. There's nothing wrong with that. We just have something special we're going for.
And that kind of transitions to another question I had, which was, has doing this work changed your relationship to yourself and your own nervous system, just like in life? And if so, how?
Yeah, and the other pitfall that a young Demidov actor might not realize is that you can't do this in normal life. You can't follow your impulses. You can't green light all
Right.
these places. You'll be that guy
Yeah.
on the bus who's doing that. But you do recognize some things in yourself, and what I always refer to in class is that you're starting to see how your own brain works, right? When you go through an etude and however it goes, you'll learn something about how this all happens, right? And the kind of person that you are, the things that, the little building blocks that make up who you are. Now, whether or not you seek to change those things, that's between you and your therapist. But you have a sharper insight into, again, why I'm acting this way, feeling this way, why I can't access this, that, or the other. You have a better way of self-reflection in that regard. We talk about how doing this work in the theater, it's not therapy. That's a completely different thing, where it's not to solve any deep-seated problems, but you can start to see how the brain works in these quiet ways, the ways that are designed to be in the subconscious and not noted. But because we are directly engaging with them, we start to bring them into the fore, and we either accept them or recognize their place and try to put them in their appropriate place. But we are bringing a lot of things from the subconscious into the open, parts of ourselves that we may not like. I talk about, and it's one of the hardest things for a working Demidov actor, is to embrace being a jerk, right? If you're in an etude and something comes up in you and you hate the person you're working with in this scene, right? You have to just enjoy that hate and be a real mean person, right? Just for the duration of the etude. It'll be over in a minute, but it's hard to do. It's hard to feel great love also. When you feel that love surge up in you and you feel exposed from it, it takes the equal amount of bravery to love that hard. And so you're finding out capacities that you had, that you have never explored. One of my students in the class that I'm teaching right now was concerned that if he gives in to these feelings that he has, if he takes these psychological blocks out of the way and completely feels these feelings, won't they be too huge and melodramatic? Is how he asked me. Wouldn't I stray into melodrama? And I had to point out, I'm like, well, first off, they'd be true. So melodrama isn't true. It's false to a great degree. But these feelings, if you're honestly feeling them, they're allowed to be that big. We just don't let ourselves feel big feelings like that. But they're genuine feelings, right? So if it's what you're feeling right now, and you give yourself the permission to take these defenses and take these blocks down and really feel that thing, yeah, it's gonna be big. It may be. That's a part of you that was always there. It's just we don't have an outlet for that in normal life. The theater gives us a place to let our nervous systems chains off a little bit, right? We do that in the uncomfortable and really rough ways that the rest of the world may not have that bravery. But that's our job, is to show these extreme sides of ourselves to you, and in doing it in as honest way as we can.
Yeah, that makes me think, in my first year in Andre's class, there were moments where I would end an etude and everybody would be in the circle would be like looking at me, and I felt like they could like see inside my like subconscious, and it felt very exposing. Like it was like,
Yeah.
and like Andre would ask questions or like notice something, and I'd be like, this is really personal. Like, why, how could I talk about this? So like it took the time to just be like, well, that's what this art form is. It really is about bearing your soul and through the character and through what's happening. But you have to be okay with show, as you say, be a hero and go through these big emotions and show yourself to the audience.
Yeah, I say that's the trust that you have in yourself is one part of it. The trust that you have in your partner is another thing, because you are giving them permission to see you, and they're doing the same thing. So you are allowing both of you to see some ugly parts of you, or parts of you that you're not entirely comfortable with for one reason or another. Again, these things that are occluded normally, we're unoccluding them and allowing them to be completely seen, to say nothing of the audience who's able to watch everything from an objective distance. But you are letting your partner see all of yourself, the warts and all, with no defenses whatsoever. And it's panic inducing if you're not ready for it, but it takes work.
Yeah. But then once you get used to it, it feels amazing, and it's
once you have
fun.
a group of people, like not just two people, but a whole group of people who have all agreed to this, who all understand what everyone else is doing, and we all have that trust with each other, like we're about to do something wild here, right? We're about to show some things, right? But we got that buy-in from everybody. The director is giving you the space for that. That's when you make something that's really worth putting on the stage and worth paying, $100 a ticket for.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to end each episode with one practical way for the audience to regulate their nervous system in some way.
Yeah, I like to. It's one of the easiest activities that we do. One of the strangest ones that we always start with, but it's taking a second and looking at something in your room. It could be an object that you've owned for a long time or something that's relatively new, and just look at that thing. Just see it. And don't do anything, but look at this thing that you may know very well. Don't try and figure it out. Don't try and orient yourself towards it, even though it may have a great story. It may have a great connection to you, but just see the thing. Some aspect of it that you may have never actually looked at because it has such a story to it. It has its whole is overwhelming. You've never actually looked at the thing itself. And let yourself just do that one thing, which is just look at this thing. Until you feel you're done looking at that and your eye can move on to something else in the room. And once again, look at the thing without trying to suss it out, without trying to come up with patterns, stories, or a relationship to it. You can simply see the thing itself. Quieting down this response that you would normally have, this emotional response you might have to your own possessions. And just seeing the thing for what it is, not for what it can do for you, not for what you can do with it, but just seeing the thing for what it is. You can breathe that thing into yourself, whatever it is, whatever it wants to be, without demanding anything of it, without trying to figure it out. And then you can breathe it out when its time has done. As actors, we're constantly trying to orient ourselves to the story, to our scene partner, to the props and all those things. It takes a lot of cognitive load to try and orient yourself with those things, as opposed to just seeing it. See the thing and do only that. Just that one thing is just see that thing and take it in, right? Let it do something to you, rather than trying to, again, try to figure it out and figure out what my relation, how can it, what's all this, what does it mean? That's so much. Give yourself the luxury of just doing that one thing, and that'll give you a little taste of the baseline of calm that you can bring to your acting, that can help you see and hear what's going on inside you, and then give it permission to actually come out.
Love that exercise. And also, like, I know it calmed my nervous system because I felt some digestion stuff happening, like it's getting into the rest and digest. It's like
these things, yeah, that's a chain reaction, right? Once your brain starts working in a more healthy way, or you start to recognize yourself, that can take a lot of weight off your shoulders.
Andrew, thank you so much. What are you working on? Where can people find you in Demidov Chicago?
Demidovchicago.com. Keep an eye there, or Demidov Chicago on Instagram. When I have classes, they come here and there around my schedule as theater, so they're not predictable. But just keep an eye out. I got some etudes classes going right now, and then hopefully maybe in the October month, might be able to find something else out. Right now, I'm working as an understudy at Idle Muse Theater. Open up Witch on September 10th. I go on one time. I don't know when.
Who are you understudying?
I'm understudying Sir Arthur, in which is the father of the younger folks in the cast.
Cool.
So yeah, we're in early stages of rehearsals for that, so that's still ongoing. But I'll throw up on the Instagram when my performances, because I always like to throw out there when you can see Demidov on stage. It's a rare thing to actually see someone doing the thing on a stage out in the wild. So yeah, keep your eye peeled for that.
Great. Well, yeah, Andrew, thanks so much. It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate you, dude.
And thanks for listening to The Actor's Nervous System. I'm Brian Zane. You can find the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Substack, and you can follow us on Instagram at The Actor's Nervous System. If this conversation resonated with you, please consider rating and reviewing the podcast, subscribing, or sharing it with someone you think would appreciate it. That helps us reach more people and grow the show. And if something from today's conversation stayed with you, take a moment to notice what your nervous system is doing right now. You don't have to change it, just notice. Until next time, try less, listen more, and allow life to move through you.